Be very careful which builder you buy a pre-construction property with. Major builders recently have been going under receivership, putting a lot of purchasers in the dark about what's going to happen with their deposits or what's going to happen with the project. Is it going to go through? Is it going to get canceled? What does receivership even mean? Major builders like Mizrahi Developments of the One Condos by the corner of Young and Bloor have gone into receivership. In a nutshell, receivership is when the builder or developer of a project defaults on their loan payments or interest payments, and the court then appoints a receiver to come and oversee what should happen with that project, whether it goes to a new builder, a new developer, new construction company, general contractor, all of that. So basically, it's when a builder goes into default and can no longer pay back their creditors, the court-appointed receiver has to step in. The major one that we saw recently was the one by Mizrahi Developments at the corner of Young and Bloor that went into receivership in 2023, and they just recently got pushed out as the overseer and have now been pulled out as the general contractor to finish construction. The project has now been handed over to SkyGrid, which is also another major developer in the city of Toronto. Now, here's a little excerpt from Sam Mizrahi, the owner of Mizrahi Developments, on the recent changes. This is an article in the Toronto Star. Disgruntled lenders forced the One into receivership last fall. They initially left Mizrahi on the project as a general contractor, but on Monday, Mizrahi informed his team that the relationship was coming to an end. Now, according to Mizrahi, in that article, he also says, "We just have a difference of opinion on how to build this building. I like to build stuff that's top quality and the best there is, and they want to take it in a different direction." So according to Mizrahi, the building is no longer going to go in the direction that he had initially envisioned and thought about, which is why a lot of purchasers initially bought into that project, right? Because it was him, his name, and his experience behind it, and the quality of finishes that he promised. Well, now it's being taken over by SkyGrid, and according to Mizrahi, he's alleging that SkyGrid is not going to have the same finishes or provide the same kind of quality that he himself had intended to when he took on the project. Another builder that's gone into receivership lately is Vandyk Group of companies. For many of their projects in both Etobicoke and Brampton, namely Uptown and Heart Lake in Brampton, the Ravine and Lakeview DXC Club in Mississauga, and Grand Central Mimico in Toronto. According to their creditors, Kingset and Dorr, they allege that Vandyk owes more than $203 million related to those 5 projects. And this was some time ago, so I don't know if the money owed has gone up since then. Likely has. I remember this particular builder was doing a project in Etobicoke, very close to where I live, called Grand Central Mimico. And I remember at that time, I didn't really have a particularly strong relationship with this developer or their sales team. And I had a number of clients who wanted in on that project and wanted to secure units because there was a lot of hype around it. And everybody was going to get a unit at that development. There was long lineups. And, looking back now, I'm glad my clients didn't get a unit because they wouldn't be in this predicament right now. I actually know a few clients, not my clients, but clients of colleagues who are actually calling me now asking what they should be doing because they have money tied into that project and they haven't had any communication from Vandyk. And what's interesting is that Vandyk has actually suspended all of their websites. So if you go onto their website, you won't find anything. It's a complete ghost town. They've actually taken their websites down. So imagine being a purchaser and trying to go onto their website to find out some more information about what's going on. Is there any update? Because I haven't heard anything. And you don't see any kind of front-end communication or even a website from these guys. So their website operation is completely down. So going back to receivership, what does this exactly mean for purchasers that have purchased into a project? Well, it could mean a number of things. So I think one of them I just covered in the case of the One by Mizrahi Developments. You have another builder take over. But again, now the question remains, okay, so are the quality of the finishes going to be the same? Are they going to use the same materials? Is the construction, are the contractors going to be the same? What else is changing? The second questions people have is, well, can I take my deposits out if they do go into receivership? Short answer to that question is you cannot. You can only do so if the builder cancels or terminates a project, in which case your deposits are protected and you get it back. In the case of a receivership, if it is now under a new management, a new project manager, new general contractor, new developer, you can assume that your agreement of purchase and sale is still intact and is still binding, and whatever terms are in there are still firm and binding. So business as usual, basically. Now, if the builder does go belly up and they can no longer finance the project and they're completely out of the picture and they actually cancel the project, well, in that case, your deposits are protected and you do get them back. Now, in the case of a new developer or new builder that's taking over, a new general contractor, a lot of the things are in their control as far as the communication goes and as far as what quality of finishes they're going to choose to do. In the case of the one by Mizrahi Developments, the exterior is pretty much finished, so they can't really do much on that front, but the interior is also now a question mark, right? Now, are they going to actually match up to the finishes that were promised? One thing to keep in mind when you're buying a pre-construction property is that pre-construction agreements are heavily favored towards the builder and are heavily biased towards the builder. These are iron claw clauses in there that protect the builder's interests. So number one, it's imperative that you get your agreement of purchase and sale reviewed by a competent pre-construction lawyer at the time of purchase so you know exactly what you're getting into. And number two, know that for the most part, you are at the mercy of the developer in most cases, right? If you read any pre-construction agreement, the first thing you'll see in big bold letters, it says that this contract can be terminated at any time by the builder, right? So the builder can, if they wanted to, terminate the agreement. And they more or less have all control over what kind of changes they can make, including if they wanted to come to you and ask you for more deposits, they wanted to increase the purchase price. And in the case they do ask for that, if they do come to you and ask for a higher purchase price or more deposits, which we've seen by builders recently, by the way, I know some major builders that have done that recently, they do give you the option if you don't have the ability to put more deposits down, that you can exit out of that contract and get your whatever deposits you'd put down so far, get it back. One thing to keep in mind, though, that yes, your deposits are protected for the most part when it comes to pre-construction properties. Keep in mind that, you may be a purchaser that spent maybe 2, 3, 4 years, maybe even 5 years into a project. And yes, you may get your deposits back, but the one thing you lose out on is the time invested, right? This is money you could have put into another project, another investment where you could have grown your money otherwise, but now you've lost out on all that time. So it's very important to know who you're going into business with. I always advise my clients when they're purchasing pre-construction to always go with a reputable builder that has a track record of completed projects, that doesn't have a track record of increasing deposits or the purchase price or canceling projects or pulling other things that may put you in jeopardy. At the end of the day, a builder going into receivership does not necessarily mean that things have come to an end. In many cases, the project or the development is still a go. And in the case of the one, they're still going to finish it. And in many other cases, they're going to finish it. It's just a matter of the builder communicating with you on what's happening next. But if you're somebody that's in the dark, that doesn't know what's happening with your particular project or your particular development that you've purchased into that may have gone into receivership, or you think they may go into receivership, and you want to know what your next steps are, feel free to go ahead and book a time with me using the link in the description below where you can book a time to talk one-on-one with me, free, no obligation, of course. If you found any value in this video, please go ahead and give it a like. And of course, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.